Hello, hello, hello. Happy Sabbath. And welcome to Chit Chat with the Guthries. Bum, 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 bum.
You're exuberant.
Of course. I am Chantel and...
I'm Haron.
Sounds so dry, but I guess. Anywho, I know for some persons this has been something a long time coming. And for some persons this is new. You're like, what? They are really doing this? Well, I guess we're going to try to do this. So we're going to promise to put out something every Friday, every Sabbath evening. Can we do that, Haron?
Let's try.
All right, cool. All right, so Haron is a pastor, and I am his wife, and we are parents.
That's right.
So getting a little bit used to, but I think we're doing a pretty good job, or probably I should say okay.
It's a very good experience. Highly recommend.
He's fed, and he sleeps, so he's good.
Amen.
All right, so Chit Chat with the Guthries includes all things Adventist. Because, of course, we are Seventh-day Adventists, so we'll speak about our lifestyle, of course, a little relationship, of course, probably some controversial topics. Who knows? I have a controversial husband, so probably we'll have controversial topics.
No controversial topics.
I have a controversial husband. Aren't you controversial?
No.
Okay, we will see. One day in the near future, I will pull this particular podcast with probably one in the near future, and then we will make a comparison. Is it no or is it yes? But hey, we will see.
You know, we usually have these talks, and I think something like this will give you a window into some of the conversations that we have. No
And in everything,
controversy.
we want to also encourage our current Adventists that, even as a pastoral family, we do experience certain things that you are also experiencing, because before we are a pastoral family, we are humans, and humans forget. So remind us, dear Lord.
Yeah, and I guess the statement of Jesus applies to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody will say, "What do you mean, I guess?" sometimes we think it doesn't apply to us individually.
Mm-hmm.
In John 15, about him being the vine and we are the branches. And the major message is to get connected to Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's something that I try to encourage everybody in my pastoral district to do. And, so I always a phrase that goes over and over again, get connected.
Shout out to the Spalding district of Seventh-day Adventist Churches.
That's right. That's Alston, Annan Town, Spalding and Whitechap.
All right, so this evening, we want to talk about something a little bit light. Yes, probably you're thinking that our first podcast should be just, about us. But it's kind of hard to talk about ourselves. So I'm sure you'll get to know us as we continue conversing. Conversing.
Continue chit-chatting.
Oh, sorry, chit-chatting
Yeah.
with each other.
Yeah.
Haron, look at you. All right, so this evening we want to talk about, because, if it is that we're going to be talking about everything Adventist, being an Adventist, being a Christian, your principles are grounded on the Bible.
Should be from the Bible.
And then you said we're not controversial. Well, you're not controversial, but hey, who am I? So we want to talk about a little bit about the versions of the Bible, and, which one should we read, or, is there a specific version that we should be reading? Or is it that we can just, as long as I'm reading the Bible, good job, proceed? What do you think, Aaron?
Well, the the best version, some would say, is the one that you have. So if you have one, read it. If you have it, read it. Study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that not to be ashamed, right, dividing the word of truth.
Amen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, taste and see the Lord is good. So in spending time in the Bible, it's good for you. And there are different versions that people have that they used to spend their time with and immerse themselves in.
All right, so I know, and for our listeners who probably don't know, the original language of the Bible was not written in English, correct?
No, nothing English.
All right. So what language was it in, or
There,
languages?
well, there's good languages. There are three. So the Old Testament, that's Genesis to Malachi,
Mm-hmm.
was originally written in the vast majority, over 90% in Hebrew.
Mm-hmm.
And there are certain portions, like in Daniel and Ezra, and some words in Jeremiah and Genesis that are in Aramaic.
Mm-hmm.
And the New Testament, that's Matthew to Revelation, was written in the first century AD Greek, and that would have been Koine Greek. So Hebrew and Aramaic for the Old Testament, and Koine Greek for the New Testament. But the fact that you and I, we don't know biblical Hebrew nor biblical Aramaic, we certainly don't speak Koine Greek. Not even the Greeks in Greece speak Koine Greek. So
Is
some
Koine Greek
process,
like patois, like broken Greek?
but no, it's actually the stage. It's actually the name for the stage of the Greek language at that time. So it had its own flavor of grammar and of syntax, but it was in every respect a language. Just like oh boy, controversial. Just like how patois is in every respect a language. But we're talking about the Bible.
Is that the controversial around there?
we're talking about Bible versions. So some process would have had to take place to move the contents of the Bible from those languages in the Old Testament, that language in the New Testament, into the English language that we have now.
Okay, so I know, right? Especially given that in the church, and there are different translations at different events. Sometimes when we translate from like Spanish to English or French to English, when it is that we're reading it in English, it's a little bit confusing.
Yeah, but a good translation will capture the essence of what the thing is in the original language, so it can be placed in your language, so you don't really miss out.
Okay, so that means there are different types of translations, then?
Yeah, there are different ways to do translations.
Okay.
There is the rough, heavy-handed translation where.
So why you have to say the rough like that?
Yeah, because that's how it comes across. It's not very polished.
You could just say rough.
Yeah.
Come again, rough.
Rough.
Yes.
So as I was saying, so it's not very polished, but and you get it's like it's
The
very
essence.
jarring to get the idea. But it's done in such a way to, in a sense, to try not to lose anything.
Okay. So technically, that's like a word-for-word translation, then.
Not quite.
Necessarily?
Not quite. It's a very
Okay.
crude, very crude translation.
So we have a Bible version that's crude, that has crude translation.
Let's the approach behind it. Let's say like the Young's literal translation. So there's a version Young's.
First, may I hear that?
Yeah, that came from the 19th century.
Aaron, don't give me no history class. No, right?
No, it's not a history class, but some members in the audience have used Young's. Have used the YLT. If you use the YLT, just give a
Tell
shout
us in
out.
the comments.
Yeah, shout out in the comments. So
If somebody comments and say that Aaron, big you up, but I know nobody's gonna comment and say that, but we will see.
So there's a Young's literal translation and so on, but word for word, a word for word translation is a high quality translation. So aside from word for word, now you have paraphrases. You have some that go for the thought. So you try to capture the main thought that the author was saying in the original, and they render it in your native parent language, so you can catch the essence of what is said. And so there's paraphrases. There's some that go for thought. Some hybrid, combination of word for word, and the thought translations. Originally Bible translators tried to go for word. But there was a shift in the early 20th century where persons are now just going for the essence. of what is being said.
All right. So, what are some word-for-word translations that we have readily available at our fingertips?
The King James Version.
Okay.
The King James Version, and the NIV is a hybrid, really. It's a hybrid translation, really. You have some paraphrases, some paraphrase types like the Message and Good News Bible and the Living Bible and so on. and
So those are
Contemporary English Version,
paraphrasing.
and
Okay.
so on. And well, for the Adventist friends who are listening, the Clear Word.
Okay, I know that Bible.
Mm-hmm.
So those are
Paraphrasing.
paraphrasing.
Yeah,
Okay.
paraphrasing.
So
Big picture.
are
Big
you
picture.
saying that the only word for word translation is King James?
No.
Oh,
But it's one of the, in English, it's one of the most popular.
okay. All right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So you said that NIV is what?
It's a hybrid type. So it goes, so there are portions of it that is word for word, and the other portions of it that are paraphrases.
So how do you know what portion is word for word and what portion is?
Well, that's like another, that's another,
That's another part. I mean, know
yeah,
you will talk about. So another.
yeah.
Okay,
So let's have
another
it. Yeah,
time
another
on
time.
another
Mm-hmm.
podcast. All right. Okay, so if you were supposed to recommend to our listeners, which ones would you recommend?
I'd recommend that you start with the version that you have.
Okay, yeah. So we established that at the
Yeah, you
beginning.
establish that, and
Okay.
then learn about the version that you have, because
Mm.
not all the Bibles were produced for the same purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Some are produced just for
So
just for you to get
where do
a.
you learn about the Bible that you have though? Like it's not like at the beginning of the Bible. Oh, let me check that
At
before me
some yeah at some
put my food in my
in some
mouth there.
Bibles the
Because we
translation
know my Bible
teams
not have that.
in some version the translation teams tell you the purpose
Yeah, you know,
the
like how
purpose of
you
it.
read some storybook and it's an
All
introduction
right,
dedicated to whatever history.
so the King
My
James
Bible not have
version,
that.
no, the King James version has the epistle dedicatory, where they give the translation team, the 24 team translation.
And you are sure that every King James version
No,
have that?
it's not printed in everyone. But the fact that
Okay.
originally when it was printed, the
Mm.
epistle dedicatory was there. That
Okay,
tells you
cool.
the context in which that translation would have arose and the purpose for it and so on.
All right,
The
fine.
NASB, there is a preface where they have that. The NIV, there is, depending on the edition that you get, there's that preface. So every translation has a translator and team behind it, and there's a particular philosophy, there's a drive as to that would have led them to do that.
All right, so learn about your history
So
and the purpose of the translation.
learn about the Bible, learn about the purpose, and if you find that the Bible was that version is there for readability, to allow for you just to read, and you can get a big picture understanding. I mean that's very good. Not knocking that. That's very good. That will allow you to be hooked. But then now you're going to realize that not every version now can take into the nuts and bolts.
Okay.
Right? So you fall in love with Jesus, but you want to learn
Fall
more.
in love with Jesus.
All right, soundtrack. So you fall in love with him,
Q's song.
but you want to learn more about him now, how to actually be like him in a day to day. What are some of the things that he said? What are some of the things that he taught? How did he connect the major points of Old Testament prophecies and so on? Some versions will leave you stranded where that is concerned.
Tragic.
Yeah, and it's not that it's bad. It's just that they were not designed to do that. So they were designed to introduce you. But when you want to walk with Jesus now,
So
go for a word for word.
So
now.
is it fair to say then, next week when we're talking about, well, hint, next week we're going to be talking about the difference between Bible study and Bible reading. So based on what you just said, Haroon, I'm getting to understand that there are translations that we can use just to read.
Yeah, man.
But if it is that we're going to be going into
study, right?
deeper study, that you would recommend us using another Bible.
Right. A good workman has his tools, and he also knows how to use his tools.
All right, so top 4 versions that you recommend, quick and fast, on the double.
Right.
Why you feel like you're thinking hard?
I mean, broadly speaking, I recommend. I recommend.
And don't come for us. This is just Haroon's recommendations.
Right. So I recommend.
Disclaimer alert.
So can I give the list now?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So I recommend that we go for word. Paraphrase is good, introduce and everything, but when you want to go a little bit, word for word. So among the word for word now, so number 1, indispensable. If English is your language, you have to have a King James version. This is the gold standard. Head and shoulders above everything else. Secondly, now, your second Bible now, you can either have one or all 3 that I'm going to say. The New King James Version, or the New American Standard Bible, the NASB, or the English Standard Version, the ESV. So the NKJV is essentially just the King James with a modern language update. So know thee, thou, and thine, and no heareth, speaketh, canst, and doest. Right? So it's can, don't, do, and English as we use it.
I'm there for that version.
English as we use it. The NASB, modern English, but it walks in the same feet as the King James. Word for word, trying to capture the Hebrew phrases and the Greek phrases and the Hebrew idioms and the Greek idioms and the Hebrew meter and the Greek meter, and just put it into English for you to get it. The ESV tries to do what the King James does and NASB does. So it is good as well. It is good as well. And the beauty about the NASB and the ESV is that they help for you to, when you pick them up and you pick a King James and you go to the Psalms. How the King James write the psalm, write it in block like it's prose. But when you go to the NASB and the ESV, they write the psalms in the way you write poetry, because it's poetry. So it helps you to pick up the different styles and genres that are there, so you can have a deeper appreciation for what you are reading.
And
so,
I guess
so
somewhere
good to
down,
read. Yeah, I mean,
we
no,
can probably
good to
go
read.
through that style and stuff.
Right,
literally kind of,
rabbit hole. So,
yeah,
so they are
definitely
good for reading. They're good for reading, and they are good for study. So
Okay.
they two birds with one stone. So highly recommend.
So both are good. All four that you just mentioned are good for reading and
all
good
four.
for...
I mean,
all right, so give me.
I
All right,
personally
apart
use all
from
four.
those,
I personally use all four.
Okay.
I personally use all four.
Thumbs up to you.
Personally use
Apart
all
from
four.
those four, right? Let's say right now, our listener, unfortunately, don't have those four, but they are at the stage now where they're just at the Bible reading stage, not yet at the Bible study. Is there any other version that you would recommend?
That's a tough question.
Oh wow, question is tough for you.
Yeah, it's true, because I generally don't recommend paraphrases.
Okay.
I generally don't recommend paraphrases.
But you're not.
But
if it is that you're reading paraphrasing now,
but if
at least you're reading something.
As long as it's not the message or the good news, and you ensure that you go contemporary English, or you're with the Living Bible, then I can sit with you.
Okay. All right. Do you have
But the
anything
idea
else to say?
is own a Bible, read it, and all of the ones I mentioned, the King James, New King James, NASB, ESV, you can download them. I have mine in hard copy, and I encourage you to do the same. But you can download them, so you can explore.
All right. So definitely we can, and it's very possible for us to chit chat until the morning light, or until young Guthrie makes his awake sound. But I think this is where we can wrap for this evening. What do you think?
Yeah.
Right. So next week we're gonna be talking about the difference between Bible study and Bible reading. Of course, soon we'll delve into some other topics, but we really want to set the foundation on the biblical principles regarding some of the things that we're going to be talking about. So we want for you to start reading the Bible.
By bread alone, by every word that proceeded from the mouth of God.
Amen. This has been Chit Chat with the Guthries. So we will be back next week, Friday. Remember to share this podcast with someone. Happy Sabbath again to all our Adventists, and God bless you all.